Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Oh, look at the Thursday fit for G. Bush.
I mean, that is unbelievable.
What was the inspiration to this?
So today, man, this is a Frank Lucas top.
Frank Lucas.
Frank Lucas. This is $10,000 alpaca. You don't touch this. You don't pack this. You block this. This that Browns alpaca.
Cops?
Yeah,
You don't want cops.
Hey, I hope it's Scotch guarded.
Hey, listen,
because you never know with something like that.
And then I got my inner Pharrell on. I always love big hats, man. So shout out. This is Big Hat G, aka Runway G.
What? Oh, like fashion runway.
Fashion.
I get it.
I think G looks like a game warden from South Africa going out for the night.
Going clubbing right after he got off work.
Hold on.
So here's my favorite. Oh, hold on. We've got glasses to go with the outfit.
You can't. I got to wait to put these on because, once again, shout out to Bobby Brown. This is the Bobby Brown when he was married to Whitney. This is the first. this is like '96 Bobby Brown.
That's the crack is whack Bobby Brown.
This is yeah.
Oh, gee. Okay, so here's the thing.
Can I read some chat comments?
I was just gonna say the
Can this
chat.
outfit be topped?
I don't know, perhaps, but the chat was the best it's ever been in the history of our show. A couple of weeks ago, it was just a couple last week.
Yeah.
So, chat, I'm putting the challenge out there for you.
Challenge is there.
We will, of course, read the best comments at the end of the show.
There's already a couple of gems.
I bet. I want to hear some of them. Don't let us down with your comments. What do we have so far, Mike?
Let's just read a couple so far. Well, Steve Becker called him Crocodile Dundee.
Steve, that's it.
Cold.
That's cold.
I don't think that'll be beat.
That's cold.
I don't know. There's one more in here that has me dying. We got Cedric Bush. Someone wants to know the Hood Cowboy. Edward Zupan says only G. Bush can prevent forest fires.
That's it.
I particularly like that one.
That's cold.
Yeah, but Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
Steve Becker, kudos to you.
He was waiting on this. He must have saw that outfit last night when I was putting
He
it
got
out.
some kind of intel because he's been thinking about that for 12 hours.
Man, good, great. I got something tomorrow for y'all too. We're gonna end this Texans
I don't
week
know how
playoff
this
week.
can be topped.
What if we go to the Super Bowl? You better hold back.
I'm gonna be in a Peter Pan outfit.
I got two more real quick. Two more. How about Tony Two Turn says G. Bush got that Cam Newton starter kit?
Hey, pull the chain out.
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
It's like,
And Creative Juice, last one, called him Smoke G the Bear.
Very good, man.
Cam Newton, the starter kit.
The internet's undefeated.
Yeah.
You need a bird nest next for Cam Newton. He has a bird nest and all kinds of.
Cam is so far out there.
Oh man. Yeah.
Before we start, Aditi, Bernie, true or false? But guys,
John Fanta also from
John
France.
Fanta,
Shout out to Fanta.
calling the Cavs game later today.
Man,
I cannot remember a time where on one day, 3 coaches with the profile of the coaches that made moves yesterday. I can't remember another seismic 24-hour period like that.
Ever.
I think yesterday was historic.
It's crazy. Not even 24 hours. It was like 15 hours.
Yeah, it was boom, boom. Well, I mean, actually, I think the Belichick news broke early this morning.
Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't one day, but it was a span of hours.
Saban,
But
and then
I mean,
Belichick.
I don't know that all 3 are Mount Rushmore, but 2 of the 3 are. And Pete Carroll's one of only, I think, 2 coaches ever to win a national championship in college and a Super Bowl. So it puts him in rare company.
I mean, I think Pete Carroll's one of the greatest coaches, NFL, football coaches of all time. Certainly Saban and Belichick are.
I think so. And I would like to get your thoughts on this. For me, Belichick's the greatest coach in the NFL, and Saban is the greatest coach ever in college.
I mean, in my lifetime, I don't know how I compare before my life. I don't,
Well, I know it would be
Is
tough.
Paul Brown the greatest coach of all time?
Bear Bryant,
Bear
for instance,
Bryant in
had
college.
such an inherent advantage. When back in the day, there was 105 scholarships. They didn't get just the best running back from Alabama. They got the best 3.
Yeah, right.
And that kept them from going to other programs, which kept other programs from rising up. But I don't know. For me, anyhow, and you can tell us in the chat, Belichick is the greatest to ever do it in the NFL. Saban, the greatest to ever do it in college football. And if you measure these things on championships, it's undisputed.
By the way, you could, I guess, there's nobody else coming to me off the top of my head, you could argue that Pete Carroll is the best combo in the history.
Perhaps. I mean, Jimmy Johnson won a national championship.
Barry Switzer.
Barry Switzer was the one that actually won
but
the national
Barry
championship.
Switzer gravy trained Jimmy Johnson's
No
NFL
question.
championship.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, Jimmy
Pete's
Johnson, you
probably-
could put Jimmy Johnson ahead of Pete Carroll probably, but
What about Butch Davis? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't count. What's amazing is they
Yeah.
were both on the Browns staff at the same time.
yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
they communicated with each other? Like,
Wait,
hey,
about the timing of all of this?
no, about each other hanging it up. Like,
I imagine they did. They're close friends.
Yeah, so and it seems like they communicate by ESP. They just look real grumpy. And
Yeah,
it's like,
they're
hey,
the same guy.
Yeah, I'm hanging it up. I'm hanging it up too. All right, talk to you later.
Yeah, they're joyless human beings. I mean,
You don't think the Patriots forced Belichick's hand at all? Alabama,
1,000.
no.
No, 1,000%. They
Patriots,
did.
certainly the Seahawks pushed
Well, Pete Carroll said as much.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Pete Carroll's done. Pete Carroll made some comments
Yeah.
yesterday that makes it sound to me like he's floating flyers out there to teams that might be looking for a coach.
Right. Saban's retiring, I assume.
Saban,
right?
I think, of all of them, I think Saban is done.
Yeah.
I think the most likely to coach again is Belichick, and I think Carroll's in the middle.
Right,
if he
right,
gets
right,
the right opportunity, I think Pete would coach again. He
Yeah.
did not want to stop coaching. He said,
Right.
I'm not tired. I'm not worn out. I can still do this.
I'm gonna tell you,
wild.
I don't want to be morbid, but you know, when you commit half of your life to doing something, and especially Belichick, and you definitely talking about Saban, you know, you quit doing football, you quit your routine.
No, I know.
And
I know.
then
You worry about what comes next.
Yeah, because it's almost like they don't have anything to like live for. It's like, especially when you've been at the top of the pinnacle of the sport like that.
And not just half of their life. I mean, they're all 72 or 71. They're very close in age. You're talking about 80% of their life. I mean, they've been doing football in some
Right.
capacity since their teen years.
What they gonna do? Go on a cruise ship?
Well, I do know this. They like to fish. I don't know about
Right.
Pete Carroll, but I know Bill and Nick love to fish. They'll get together. I had an instant idea when I read the Belichick news this morning. Netflix comes forward and offers each of them $3 million a year. And here's the deal. They have to move into a house together, and it's just called Coaches. That's it, Coaches. And it's a reality show.
Lord.
And there's 50 cameras, and we
was
get to
crazy.
see everything about their
crazy.
lives, how they consume football now
Yeah.
that they're out of it. I'd watch.
Well, you also, you know, Belichick and Saban could do, a Manning cast type of, with both NFL and college. I mean,
incredible.
that would be great.
It would be incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, the knowledge that they have. Okay, a lot to get to. Mikey, we've got some business to take care of before that, so what do we have?
We'll do real quick a FanDuel read and a winning ticket, then we'll get into Browns-Texans stuff. But first, the NFL regular season may have wrapped up, but there's still plenty of time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed just by placing a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose for new customers. The best part about FanDuel, well, the app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best and easiest way to find popular parlays, and so much more. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. And today's winning ticket comes from So Live, who turned $10 into $456.80 with a 13-part same-game parlay from the Sacramento Kings-Detroit Pistons game the other night. He hit over on points, rebounds, three-pointers made, and steals for a number of different players. And if you have a winning ticket like So Live and you turn $10 into $460, make sure you send it our way, tweet it at us, send it to us via email to be featured on the show.
And Mike, if there are fans and viewers out there that watch that don't quite feel confident enough in their takes to place bets, but they love watching sports, and they appreciate our opinions and our thoughts on how things are going to go, beginning this week, we're starting a new segment where we're going to build a single-game parlay. It happens in overtime today. So if you're not a $4.99 member yet, now's the time to dive into the top-tier membership. And it's basically bet with us, UCSS, us. We're each going to give a leg of a parlay, and if you like it, dive in on it, and we'll track our results, and we'll see how much money we can make over the course of placing these weekly bets on FanDuel.
It'll be called the Ultimate Same Game Parlay. Bet with us, Jay. I like that creativity.
I like that.
Make sure you do that, and tweet at us at Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, at myself, Mike Lucas TV, Bolgy, whoever. We'll make sure you get your winning tickets featured here on the show. Guys, the Browns and Texans played 3 weeks ago in Week 16. It was 36-7 before garbage time touchdowns came in for the Texans. It's not a divisional matchup, and it's very rare if you go back through the last 10 years of playoff matchups that teams who have played in the last 3 weeks of the regular season then matched up again in the wild card round. Different
Hell,
team
the
for
Browns
Texans.
did it 3 years ago.
It has happened, but
Right.
it's not very common.
Yeah.
Especially for non-division opponents.
Sure.
So in a
Bengals
rematch.
and Chiefs did it recently.
Yeah,
They
I'm
did.
not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it doesn't
Yeah.
happen a ton. But in a rematch scenario like this, where one team smoked the other team, Houston was missing some players, so was Cleveland. Which side has the advantage in a rematch just 3 weeks later? Is it the team that got smoked that knows, hey, what we thought worked did it, and we got to completely change? Or is it the team that had everything work in their favor, and then only has to make minor tweaks? Bull, GJ?
In
Which
my
side?
opinion, there's no advantage from that angle. I think the Browns have an advantage because they're a better team, and I think the Browns have an advantage with having a more experienced quarterback. But I don't think there's any advantage from winning that game because you can't just say that both teams had injuries. They were missing CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Now, you could say the Browns had injuries, but the Browns' injuries, those guys are not back. It's not like Nick Chubb's back for this game. So that's a big difference. I'm sure a lot of people in Cleveland think the Browns are going to win. I don't think there's many people who think they're going to win as easily as they did the last time they played them because the quarterback they have going now is a lot better than the quarterback they had going in that game. So in terms of how the Browns offense played, you could take something out of that.
Yeah.
In terms of the Browns defense and how they were challenged in this game versus how they were challenged in that game, I can't take much out of that. But so I don't think from that perspective, in my opinion, I don't think either team has an advantage.
It's tough. When I saw the question on the rundown, I thought about it from a perspective going back to high school. We always play St. Ignatius week 7 of the high school football season. And the year that we won a state championship, we came up here and we played, I think it's Dixfield. No, we played at Byersfield.
Okay.
And they beat us 28-21. And, we were like, man, we kind of lost that game. We kind of got dropped out of, the national – because we hadn't lost in, 2 years. So we got kind of dropped out of the national top 10. But it was weird because we knew we would play them again. And for some strange reason, we just had a bunch of confidence that we can win that game. And we came out and we played at Kent State, and we came out and we got them down early. And it was it was weird. But everybody around us was panicking. Everybody else around us was like, my mom, my dad, everybody in the
But internally, you guys had confidence.
Yeah, we just
why?
Why?
Do you know why?
I don't know. Maybe it's you're young and dumb, and it was the first time that our junior class had got to play because we had the senior class with Mike Dawson and all those other guys, and they played. But we just felt like we had we had a veteran quarterback. We had playmakers. We just were like, all right, we just don't got to make no mistakes because we was turning the ball over. And we got there, and it was actually one of the easier games. Now, they came back and was playing tough, but it was I don't know why. I've always asked myself that question in sports. Why
it is
do
interesting.
we feel confident? And it's just one of those things.
Do you think the Texans will have that confidence or no?
I think the Texans will have some of that confidence, and
because they've got their guy back.
Because they got CJ Stroud back,
Yeah.
and plus they've played and seen success quicker or more recent than the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
They just came off a win on the road, so now they got a little more confidence. Like, hey, we won on the road to get in the playoffs. Now we got CJ back at home.
Mm-hmm.
We ready to go.
Yeah, won what they had to feel like was a playoff game.
Yep.
Because it was essentially. It's interesting that you say that, G, because as you were talking, I started thinking about why that might be. And oftentimes when there's a game where one team is a big underdog, particularly in the big games where all the focus is, the game plan for the underdog is what? Slow it down, keep it close.
Keep it close.
Why? Because if that game goes into the second quarter and it's a one-score game, you're able to now say to yourself, the pundits were wrong. We can play with these guys. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the pressure starts ratcheting up on the favorite.
Yep.
We're supposed to handle these guys easily, and here we are, 3 minutes to go in the fourth, and it's a one-score game. Stay close, and I think internally inside that game, you start to build on that confidence, and that can be a very scary thing for the opposition. My answer to this is the Texans have the advantage, and I really didn't think I didn't think that it was close. Yes, the Browns have the knowledge that they won easily the first time they played. But the Browns are closer to who they were on Christmas Eve than the Texans are to who they were. You didn't just take 2 players out of the Texans' rotation. You took the 2 players.
Yeah.
You took their playmaking superstar on offense, and he wasn't in the game. Clearly, the Houston Texans, without CJ Stroud, are a different animal, and the Texans know that. So I think they will have an advantage. Now, the Browns do have some advantages. I think they have the advantage of knowing that Amari Cooper could have gone for 400 yards in that game if they wanted. And they were incapable of making the in-game adjustments. Trust me, 13 minutes of the 15 minutes at halftime were spent trying to figure out what the hell to do with number 2.
Yeah.
How do we slow this guy down? What are we doing? And whatever in-game adjustments they were making, and they did make adjustments, we saw that, they didn't work. Now they've had 3 weeks to make adjustments. Yeah. And they've had time to sit in the lab with the pen and the pad, as you like to say. And they honed in on how they can slow number 2. That may be their mission statement. And this wouldn't be a bad game plan. If I'm the Houston Texans, I am bracketing Amari Cooper. I'm doubling him, and I'm demanding that someone other than number 2 beats us.
I would do that too. And we talked about the run game. The run game is going to be pivotal because last game we played the Texans, we didn't run the ball all that well, and they had nothing for us. We just figured out that we could just throw the ball on you guys. Now, if they want to double bracket, that means somebody in the run game is going to have to do something, and that means one of the receivers is going to have to say that's disrespectful, and I'm going to kill you now.
But they're going to make us do that.
But they're going to make you do that. I think that might be and I don't think that you're going to see a bunch of man coverage. The double moves Amari Cooper was getting open on first down for those deep shots, I don't think they're going to run that. I think they're going to come with some zone and try to make Joe Flacco read defenses the whole entire game.
So a wholesale change.
The whole,
A couple of things. First of all, I don't think it matters if the Texans try to double team. I know Leroy's brought this up before. Sometimes the second guy just gets in the way. You're going against one guy essentially. And Joe Flacco's going to throw the ball anyway. We've seen him. We've seen him throw into double teams. We've seen him throw into triple teams.
Sometimes at barrel, but
he knows Amari Cooper. He knows. I don't know if he's had any picks throwing the ball to Amari Cooper. I don't remember it. Maybe he has.
Yeah, I don't.
I feel like most of his picks have either been to Cedric Tillman or plays where he's just going really deep down the field.
Or you get some tips.
Or the tips, right? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we can check that out, Mike. I don't remember him throwing a pick when he's throwing to Amari Cooper. Obviously,
I can look into it. Hold on.
Obviously, I could be wrong there. I think from the other side of the field, this is a very interesting thing here. My guy Cleve TA, who has his own analytics website, he made a very interesting point. The disparity with CJ Stroud. Most quarterbacks have a big difference: clean pocket, muddy pocket, right?
Yeah, not
his
this guy.
Disparity. No.
He's better.
No, well, CJ Stroud, not Flacco.
No, I'm talking about Stroud too. We showed his numbers yesterday with a clean pocket and with pressure.
Well,
and I was surprised by them.
You must have that wrong, Mike.
No, well, I know it's part of the 5 stats tomorrow. Stevie take 135. He hasn't thrown any interceptions under pressure, but his PFF grade's not bad.
Yeah, that was what stood out to me.
Okay.
Because typically, that's when you see young quarterbacks throw picks.
What Steve TA's talking about is the PFF grade, though.
Right, okay. But overall, he hasn't thrown any picks, fine. But he has not played well under pressure. And the disparity of his PFF grade in clean pocket and pressure, I think, is the biggest disparity of any quarterback.
Well, looking at that, it looks like it probably is.
6th biggest disparity.
Yeah.
6th biggest?
Correct.
Now,
I mean, everybody's disparity is different.
Well, but here's another thing. He's barely faced. They have faced very few teams that have good pass rushes. Very few.
Yeah.
He's played essentially 3 games against good pass rushing teams. The Ravens, the Steelers, and the Jets. He's only thrown 2 touchdowns in those 3 games. He was awful against the Jets. He had a decent game.
What week was that in the season? Do you remember?
It was
week
somewhat
14.
recently.
Week 14.
Okay.
The Jets shut him down completely.
Completely.
They did. I don't know how they did it, but they did.
And the Jets defense didn't play well against the Browns, but for most of the year they've played well.
They've been very good.
And against the Steelers, he threw 2 touchdowns and no picks, which is obviously good, but he was very inefficient. I think he only completed like 53% of his passes. And he was not good against Baltimore. He threw no touchdowns against them. That was the first game of the year.
Yeah.
So I'll give him a little pass there.
Bull,
the bottom line is he has not faced a lot of good pass rushes.
Right.
The Browns have a great pass rush. The Browns, without a doubt, have the best pass rush secondary combo. And the Texans are trending towards their number 2 receiver being out. Noah Brown did not play last week.
That's right.
He hasn't practiced yet this week. Now, I hate not that he's so great, but he's clearly like he's their Elijah Mitchell. He's not great.
Yeah.
But he's probably even a little better than Elijah Mitchell.
Well,
against Pittsburgh, real quick, Jay.
Go ahead.
Pittsburgh, for CJ Stroud, he had 306 yards on 16 completions. He burned them deep. Nico Collins had 2 catches over 45 yards. He had 5 passes over 20 yards.
Okay.
His yards per attempt was through the roof. But inefficient is the way to explain
yeah,
it.
but Bull,
he was
coupling with what you said, how he hasn't done well against pressure, he's also done very poorly. If you're looking, when Belichick looks at an opponent, what's their weakness? Where's the Achilles? And I'm going to chop at it. His weakness is man coverage. We gave a stat yesterday, Mike, if I'm not mistaken, is he 27th in the league against man coverage?
Yes, and the Browns play the second most cover 1 in football.
Right, so I think that is a really interesting, because I don't know how much man the Jets played against him. I would imagine a lot.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, they got probably the second best secondary in the league.
Well, they've got certainly 2 really good corners and
Right.
maybe one of the best corners.
Yeah.
I think that coupled with that pass rush and the fact that he has not done well in man coverage, that is a recipe for a very long day for CJ Stroud.
Yeah, he also, according to this thing I was reading by, again, TA, I want to give him credit for putting this out there. Part of the problem why he struggled at times, even though, again, no picks, that's pretty impressive for a rookie.
Very.
But the problem is he holds on to the ball too long, and he's gotten sacked a lot. I think the Jets sacked him like 5-6 times, and he's, not all sacks are created equal. Sometimes they're on the offensive line. Sometimes it's the quarterback's fault. Yeah. And a lot of his sacks, especially against those good pass rush teams, were his fault.
Well, I'd guess the Jets got him a lot because they were covered sacks.
Yeah, right.
So here's the wrinkle that's going to come. Watch for it. Everybody at home, watch for this. When I look at teams that play back-to-back or play twice in a year, I look at the coaches who kept something in their back pocket, little wrinkles that they didn't run the first time. I fully expect that Jim Schwartz is going to put Myles Garrett opposite of Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil, good elite tackle.
Their best guy by far.
Best guy. What they're going to do is they'll flip Myles Garrett around, and what they'll do is when they're pass protecting, they'll bring linebackers and bring from that side of the line of scrimmage blitzes from JOK or blitzes from Taki,
right?
Or even nickels and safeties.
And we've seen that.
And they're going to make him make a decision and make them pass that off between the guard and maybe even keep a tight end over there. So if you get Myles Garrett one-on-one on the opposite side, that's going to make them say, okay, well, do we take Dalton Schultz out of this route? Does he have to chip?
Stay in and chip.
Is he going to stay in and chip? And that's one of the things that really help you, because now you got the corners to stay sticky, plus you got Myles Garrett on the secondary tackle.
Good stuff. Can't wait to see how it all plays out, Mike.
Yep. One more stat real quick on Stroud in clean pockets versus the pressure. In clean pockets, 20 touchdowns, 70% completion. Here's the big difference, 9.2 yards per attempt. Under pressure, 3 touchdowns, 52% completion, drops 18%, 6 yards per attempt. 3.2 yards per attempt, almost 35% fewer yards per attempt.
And those are trends that all quarterbacks will show, but that's a big difference.
It's a big difference, and it's common for a rookie.
Yeah.
As you get more experience, you understand more.
He's freaking out. Get the ball out of my hand and get it out fast.
And frankly, we keep talking about the difference. For rookie quarterbacks, his numbers versus pressure are phenomenal. But that's for rookies as opposed to veterans.
Sure.
So
Understood.
he's not terrible, but compared to in clean pocket, he's definitely
the
worse.
Browns have been hurt at times by guys that running quarterbacks.
They have.
Now, CJ Stroud's a good athlete, but he doesn't really run. I think he's got 150 yards rushing this year.
He can, but it's not a big part of this game.
Yeah.
I don't
he's
think
not a statue, but he moves. He uses his athleticism to move around the pocket.
Right.
Not really to run down
Which
the
is
field.
really what NFL offensive coordinators and head coaches want you to do.
That's right.
They've been trying to wash the run gene out of Justin Fields, and Chicago, and it's slowly happening. But his inclination a lot of times is no one's open, I'm going. And that drives offensive coordinators nuts. That's how you get quarterbacks hurt.
Stroud is a special quarterback. He's a special rookie. I'm not trying to diss him at all. I'm just saying he's not perfect.
No.
There's flaws,
and
as there are in most quarterbacks, and especially for a rookie. There's things he'll get better at. But hopefully the Browns can take advantage of the things he's not as good at right now.
That's the plan.
We got John Fanta in 5 minutes, but first, a quick reminder that members, if you are a member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and you can become a member on our YouTube page, click the join button. It's $1.99 for coaches tier, $4.99 for starters tier. If you're any tier of member, you can get text from Jason Lloyd during the Browns-Texans playoff game on Saturday. You can sign up to be a member to get those texts on our YouTube page. We'll put instructions on how to sign up for that text line, but Jason Lloyd will be texting all our members during the Browns-Texans game with some insight from Houston for the big game. Guys, 5 minutes before John gets here, but the injury bug has plagued the Browns all season. The only team with more players on IR this year than the Browns was Houston, and it appears the injury gods may be changing their winds and blowing in the Browns' favor because they only have 3 players on the injury list right now. Cooper, who's expected to play, he sat out yesterday for rest. Tillman and Dustin Hopkins, while the Texans, that injury list goes on and on and on. None of their starting defensive linemen have practiced yet. So, for once,
and Noah Brown,
do you feel like the injury gods are in the Browns' favor here for the playoffs?
I think they are, and I think it's, I don't want to call it karma, but if you play 20 hands of blackjack and you're just getting ravaged the first 10 hands, you don't walk away from the table. The idea is my luck is going to change. And
over
typically,
time,
if you flip a penny 100 times, the odds are, if you do it enough, like 100, it might be 51-49. 52-48, but it's never going to be 55-45. There's a 50-50 proposition. The bigger the sample size, the more likely you're going to regress to the mean, which is 50-50. I think it's the same thing with the Browns. I mean, nobody's keeping track and getting guys hurt, but it does seem like injuries come in bunches, and there's always a narrative for the team that wins the Super Bowl. Always. They were healthy through the playoffs, and the Browns are healthy now.
Yeah, the guys... Anybody that's gotten hurt in the last 2 months that was not a season-ending injury is back, except for Hopkins. Now, and maybe Tillman. Cooper's going to be fine. He's just resting. Tillman's not. If Tillman doesn't play, it's not a big deal. I think, whatever. But Hopkins is the only, guy you hope you'd have for this game.
And Cooper had said he could have played if he needed last week.
He's going to be fine.
He's just resting it up.
Whereas the Texans' top 5 defensive linemen have all not practiced. Now, at least some of them are probably going to play, but none of them are anywhere close to 100%. You have 3. Yeah, you have 3 of their defensive linemen there. Oh, now you got.
That's 3 defensive linemen. They're starting fullback. And
why you got Tillman on there?
That's supposed to be Noah Brown. I didn't change that. That's a miscue on my
end. Beck is their fullback. Their 2 defensive ends are on there. You didn't have the defensive tackles on there, Mike.
Well, I only have 5 dots, and I messed up 1. So, yeah,
anyway,
their injury list goes on and on.
You got
their
number 2 wide receiver and their top 5 defensive linemen all having practice. Now, I don't know who's going to play, who's not. I'm assuming at this point, I shouldn't assume. Pierre Strong practiced yesterday, by the way. I assumed he'd be out this week.
I did too. That was kind of a surprise to me. So I didn't think he'd be out there.
But so maybe some of those guys will play, but their D-line is banged up, and Noah Brown not playing is a deal because he's their second or third best pass catcher on their team.
We didn't mention Delpit. Delpit isn't for sure playing.
That's true.
So he's the one guy that would be the exclusion to your group that you mentioned.
That's true. He's not listed on the injury report because he's not
he's not on the roster.
Right.
Yeah, he's not active. But Browns fans are hoping against hope, perhaps, but we're hoping like crazy.
Well,
he's practiced.
He practiced yesterday, Mike, didn't he?
I think limited.
He was a limited participant in practice yesterday. They don't have to designate him until Friday, and they the active roster or not. So I would not expect
and they wouldn't until Friday.
Yeah, right.
So tomorrow we should know. If they activate him, he's playing.
Right, most likely, yeah. Unless there's a setback. Unless there's a setback.
Yeah, unless something happens in pregame or something.
But I would assume, and the fact that he's practiced the last 2 days, even limited, means he's certainly trending in the right direction. So we'll hope, and the Browns appear to be in good shape.
Browns have learned to play like this. The Browns, I think it's an advantage for the teams that have had the most adversity and continue to keep winning. So you can have a team who they lose a lot of their key players, and guess what happens? they just fold up and they're not in the playoffs. Now you got a team that did have a lot of injuries. They didn't fold. Actually, they excelled in certain areas, got better. Now it doesn't. If somebody goes down, the expectation in that locker room is we've already had guys that are coming in and play and got some experience. Now, when you got the Texans on the other hand, who are that's the problem when your best player is a rookie. That's the problem, right? I go back to the LeBron days, right? Remember LeBron couldn't get over Detroit, and it was just like he put the team on his back, and you had Drew Gooden and Z and Ira Newble and those guys. But LeBron was the best player. And he had to take his warts and lumps and everything to learn how, okay, well, these guys ain't going to get no better. I need to learn how to fix my game and mold my game to make an impact because I'm that guy. So when you look at the defensive line being out, that's a massive thing for them because they were already deficient. If you look across the spectrum, I don't give them any matchup. I think the Browns are better than them or slightly better in every area of the football game, whether that's O-line, I give up D-line, whether that's the linebackers, the secondary. Even the only one that you can say is even close is the quarterback. And you don't even really – it's a toss-up because way Joe Flacco's playing and his experience.
Joe's playing better now.
I mean, I would say Stroud is the better quarterback, but Flacco's playing just as well.
Right.
And I'd rather have him in this situation.
So what's funny is Flacco is leading the NFL. Now, it's only been 5 games. He's leading the NFL in yards per game.
Right.
But if you use qualified quarterbacks that have started at least 8 games, it's CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
That's leading the NFL
right.
in yards per game.
Flacco has more turnovers in his 5 games than Stroud has all year.
Which is insane.
Now, Stroud missed a couple of games, but still, he's played most
I
of
think
the
he's played 14.
Stroud's played, he's 14 and a half. He got knocked out on one.
Okay.
But the Browns, since Flacco took over, and this is the remarkable part of this whole run, they lead the NFL in turnovers. Makes no sense. They are defying laws of logic between what Flacco's doing and just how they continue to win games, despite handing the ball to the opponent more than any other team in the entire National Football League.
By the way, did you find out if he threw any picks targeting Cooper?
I couldn't find the direct, but I was going to mental math. Against L.A., his first pick was thrown to Elijah Moore. That was a deep ball in the fourth quarter. Definitely not on him. Jacksonville, the pick bounced off Cedric Tillman, so that's not him.
Yep.
Against Chicago, he threw 3. 2 of them were to Tillman. I don't remember what the third one was.
Who was the one where he threw into triple coverage? And wasn't one of them like a halftime Hail Mary or something, too?
Yeah, that
was Houston.
And
His
then
throw against Houston, neither was.
I mean, I don't really ding him for that.
Against the Jets, a defensive lineman tipped the ball up in the air, picked it off into the house.
Yes.
So he don't. I would say that he
got
has
8,
about.
but we could put 5 on him.
He got 8. I could say, and 2 of those were bad picks. Like I thought the bad pick against the Rams where he threw in the double coverage.
That was bad.
That was a bad pick. He's had some of those.
I think 1 or 2 of them, though, have been on Tillman for just giving up on routes.
We got our
guys, we have a
Fanta.
very special guest now joining us. And real quick, before we bring Mr. John Fanta in, a quick word from Jace Medical. I know we use sports to come together, escape the crazy realities of real life, but can we just talk about preparing for real life for a minute? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. Guys, this is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than someone in your life or your kids getting sick with a supply chain issue that kept them from the life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll all be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a 5-pack of antibiotics used to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinuses, skin infections, among others. And this stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter today. It'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared for today. So go to jacemedical.com, use promo code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your first offer. And with that, let's go overseas to Paris for the one, the only, Mr. John Fanta.
John, you look like
guys.
You look like you're in your bedroom, not in Paris.
No, we're calling this game remotely. We're calling this.
Oh, okay.
But we are calling it from the NBA studios. So
okay, well that explains it.
Sorry for lying. I apologize.
As a Cleveland guy, how excited are you for this?
I'm incredibly grateful, Jay. And in full candor, I grew up watching you host SportsCenter, and you're an inspiration to me, as is Adam, as is Garrett.
Thank you.
So you're part of my childhood hosting. I remember when SportsCenter was coming up live. I mean, between cold pizza and then you doing live SportsCenter in the morning, your passion for the city of Cleveland speaks for itself, and that's why what you guys do on this show is awesome, as I've told Adam and G. Bush before. So
well, we all appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate all of you because you help me when I'm getting ready for a game. I'm listening to you guys, and I love it. So how exciting is it? It's a thrill. I got the text message in November. What am I doing on, what's today, January the 11th? And from the NBA and NBA TV, and they said, we'd like to offer you the Paris game. And then in the follow-up text, Nets versus Cavs. It was actually BKN versus Clee. And when I see CLE, there's not another CLE. And that gave me chills. It felt like it was meant to be.
John, the Cavs are playing much better basketball. You know, we've been down on the Cavs, obviously, after the way last season ended. But lately, they have found something here, and they're playing great basketball. So, and obviously the Nets are playing well, and there's also been rumors about a trade with Donovan Mitchell. Who knows? So there's plenty of intrigue for this game this afternoon.
There is plenty of intrigue because the Cavaliers have won 8 of their last 11 games, and those 11 games have come with Evan Mobley and Darius Garland sidelined. And in those 11 games, the Cavaliers have the second most assists in the NBA. So they're sharing the basketball. They're top 5 in three-point shooting in that span. And they're playing really collectively sound hoops. And it goes to Jared Allen, what you're showing right now. He has performed at such a high level, 7 consecutive double-doubles, guys. Had a huge game against Milwaukee, even though it was a loss. But this guy right now, guys, since Mobley and Garland went down, Allen is averaging over 40 more touches per game.
Oh, wow.
So there's something there. Of course, it's by need, but it's also J.B. Bickerstaff has this team playing 4 out, 1 in, and Allen's creating matchup nightmares. And the Nets are shorthanded today. They're going to be without Day'Ron Sharpe. They're back up big. It's all on Nick Claxton. Allen could have lunch and dinner in Paris here in this game. I expect them to feed him early and often. But what's happening is they're relying on Donovan Mitchell to play in that point guard role, and he's handling it well. He's moving the basketball at a high level. And when Max Strus is making shots for this team, and they're getting enough. I mean, who would have saw Sam Merrill for this team? Mm-hmm. I couldn't have told you that would have happened. I don't think anybody in the Cavs nobody in the Cavs would have predicted for him to step up with some double-figure performances and get hot from 3. So they've got something good going for them. You know why? They're playing team basketball. Earlier in the season, there was only one basketball, and certain guys got to get theirs.
40 more touches per game.
Crazy.
John, we looked at each other when you said that, and we thought that can't be right.
That's nuts.
I mean, that almost tells you that we knew he wasn't involved enough, but it almost tells you that he was barely involved at all, and that's a problem with a talent like that.
And Jay, because he's getting more involved, I just think he's feeling more confident. Now, the question always in the NBA is, will it translate in May? Will it translate in April?
Sure.
When you hope that you're still playing. And there's a huge jumble in the Eastern Conference standings right now between 3 or 4 and 8. So I wouldn't go too far into that, but I think to your point, maybe that usage, maybe those early touches is getting Jared Allen more and more confident. I mean, 7 consecutive double-doubles right now, and they're not just double-doubles. I mean, this is a guy that those stats don't even fully sum it up over what he's done in the last 11 games. He's raised those averages, and he's incredibly efficient. He doesn't take bad shots. A lot of his are dunks, of course, but he moves, and he defends. I mean, that's the one thing with Jared is he might have gotten out physical against the Knicks. Not Mike. He did.
Right. He did.
Donovan Mitchell said in the last week, look, he said, I know it's hard. And he goes, I know we all judge what happens in the springtime. But he said, Jared Allen is a dog. He comes in every day. He goes to work. He doesn't complain. He's a great culture guy. And I'm telling you guys, I'm working with Sarah Kustok this afternoon. Sarah does games with Ian Eagle for the Nets on Yes Network. Brooklyn misses Jared Allen. They miss him in a big way because he is a locker room guy. And right now, he's performing like an all-star. He deserves an all-star nod.
John, we talked about them playing the 4-out, 1-in. Now, when you fast forward this thing till you get Mobley back, what are you going to do? Is it a thing where you got to split them two up, maybe bring one off the bench to continue to keep the 4 shooters around one big? How do they keep this cohesiveness in the ball moving when you bring back another ball dominant guard and another big that is kind of in the same mode as Jared Allen?
Gee, Bush, isn't that the $1 million question right now for the Cleveland Cavaliers? And by the way, guys, I just looked while you were asking me that question. Since Mobley went down, Allen is averaging 19.5 points over 13 rebounds per game. And he's shooting 67% from the floor. That's one of the best marks in the NBA. What's the answer to your question is, I don't know. And that's why the Cavaliers are rumored daily to be exploring options at the deadline, because the question now is this team best suited to have that core 4 all together? They're all talented players, but do they mesh the best for this team to go on a postseason run? Or do you have to put a chip forward at the table or two to try to get a unit that plays like the one that we've seen over the last 3 weeks? Like the one that's won 8 of their last 11 games. And Mobley's not that chip. Mobley's the franchise piece. Evan Mobley's not going anywhere. I think there's a debate between Mitchell and Garland. Can they coexist? Mitchell's obviously rumored all the time, but I think the Cavs are exploring all options there on the perimeter. Mobley's not going anywhere. How do they figure that out? It's tough. You know why? Because neither Mobley or Allen are perimeter shooters. And so that makes it really challenging in today's NBA to figure through that.
It does.
Games at 2 p.m.
Yeah, you got to go.
NBA TV. Before you go, we know you're a massive Browns fan, of course. Saturday against the Texans. Are you confident?
Yeah, baby.
That's confidence. That's it. That's the answer to the question.
28-24. Flacco leads a game-winning drive, and the Browns are a winner.
Wow.
I like it.
From your lips to the ears of the football
John.
gods.
I'll take that.
That's
I'll
great.
take that.
John,
good
awesome
luck today,
stuff,
buddy.
man.
Proud of
awesome
you.
stuff. We'll be watching
Great
today.
job.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for having
having
me.
Thank you, John.
You got it.
A little behind-the-scenes story
guess.
real quick.
Great
so
guess.
we texted John to set this up yesterday, and he goes, yeah, I'm in as long as I can bark. And I told you I wasn't quite sure exactly what John meant by that, and he delivered and then some. So I love it.
You've been in Cleveland long enough to know what that means.
I knew what it meant. I just wasn't sure if he was going to come through the way he asked.
That was
and he
impressive
delivered
barking.
and
Yes,
then
it was.
some.
Carried it for 10 seconds.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, that
was impressive.
was next
That was
level.
Is that the best
barking.
bark we've had on
Chuck!
UCSS yet?
That was
That's
nice.
the
brought
best
it.
UCSS bark yet.
Hey, what's his story, Bull? How is he? I mean, I know you said yesterday. I think he's 30 or in his.
I don't know exactly. I can't remember.
He looks
He's a young
like
guy.
he's a college
he might
student.
still be in his 20s. I
I mean,
don't
how
remember.
is he? How has he done this? Do you know?
I don't remember how he got his foot in the door. He probably told me, and I can't remember, but he has built his way up with Fox doing college basketball.
Wow, he does a great job.
He is like, I text, because, I'm a St. John's fan. I'm not a I don't follow it as closely as I used to.
Right.
But they're good this year, and I watched the game last night. They played Providence. And so I text him all the time about and he knows everything about college basketball. Like nowadays, you don't know that many people that know college basketball that well.
And you know what, boy?
But he knows everything about college basketball.
He actually is very knowledgeable in baseball too.
He
Wow.
knows. He grew up. He's a young man. The guy grew up watching you, listening to the radio station. I mean,
Where
he's
is he
a
from? What
diehard.
suburb of Cleveland? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I think he went to Ignatius.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He got married in the last year, I want to say.
Impressive
He's
guy.
a great young man. He's
very
awesome.
knowledgeable, and his presentation is great. I can't wait to watch him on the
he
game
does a
later
great
today.
job.
He does a
that's
great
awesome.
job calling games. Let's get back to a little Browns talk here, guys. We talked a little Amari Cooper earlier. You guys touched on it, but he had 265 against Houston in the first matchup in Week 16. Let's start with this, then we'll get into how Houston's going to have to prepare to slow down the Browns' top target. But He hasn't practiced or played since the Houston game. Well, he's practiced, but he hasn't played since the Houston game. He hasn't practiced this week. Are you guys concerned, even in the slightest, that whatever heel injury he's dealing with will hinder him come Saturday? Or is that just purely rest, veteran guy?
I'm not.
Get ready.
I'm not. I mean,
zero concern.
If the pain is intolerable or, more than it should be, they'll give him a shot. It's Amari Cooper. I'm not worried at all.
Well, we got some stuff for that. We like to say,
yeah,
part of the knee club. If you part of the knee club, you already know.
Yeah,
you already know what they got.
There's an app for that.
There's an app for that. You just download that. You be ready to go. You play 4 quarters.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I mean, I don't think it's anything we should be worried about. Yeah. He said he would have played Sunday if needed. So
you just said it, Jay. It's Amari Cooper.
And it's the playoffs.
If this was another receiver who was just a random dude, yeah, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
But it's Amari Cooper. This guy's, I hate to use the cliche, but he's a pro's pro. And so I trust Amari Cooper totally. They have nobody that can deal with him. Their secondary's not that good. And I'm not expecting him to have 265 yards, but I'm expecting him to have a good game.
Well, that
I think he's going to have over 100 yards.
That was actually part 2 of the topic was, what do you expect him to do coming off of that 265 yards? And I'm with you. That's like someone hits a 4 home run game, which would be a team record. Yeah. And then, the reporter asks him, do you think you can do that again today?
Right.
No, it's not going to happen. He's not going to go for 265. Trust me, right now in a meeting room somewhere in Houston, there's a defensive coordinator yelling and screaming over film and Xing and O'ing on a blackboard, making sure that their mission coming into this game is that Amari Cooper does a tap dance all over that defense again. I still think he'll have a big game. I think it's possible he could have 100 receiving yards and at least 1 touchdown, perhaps 2. But just because he had 265 last time around, please don't make the mistake of expecting that again.
See, this is the thing that they have to be worried about is if you're going to pay attention to them like that, unlike the Texans, they don't have a secondary, hitter, home run hitter. Mm-hmm. Right now, David Njoku is the biggest home run hitter in the game when it comes to tight ends. And the fact that he catches the ball and runs past everybody or runs over everybody it just goes to show you the way the game has evolved. No longer, so what happened is you got safeties, right? The safeties used to be the big hitters, the guys that came up and punished people over the middle, but you can't hit that way anymore. So now the game plan is, all right, well, let's go to corners. How's about we rotate our bigger corners and play corners at safety and we could get smaller in the secondary because all we're doing is covering the ball anyway. Now you get guys rumbling around like a David Njoku who catches the ball in open territory, and if the linebacker doesn't get him down, you're looking at 20, 30, 40 more yards. It's just one of those things where now the Browns have 2 guys that they can use, and if Amari Cooper is getting doubled, he still runs really great routes. But I expect David Njoku to play well.
Yeah. And Amari Cooper is very good at every aspect of being a wide receiver, right? He may not be elite, but he's
with the exception of speed. I think his speed is probably average.
Yeah, I mean it's fine,
but everywhere else I think he is.
He's a great route runner.
Great
hands. His football IQ is through the roof.
He gets off press coverage easily.
But you know what? He may not be the fastest guy, but
he don't get caught that much.
And he uses his he's good at hitting like the angles and just getting a step here and there.
Yeah.
Because of his smarts, and most importantly, or also important, is the fact that right now, even though he didn't play in the Jets game, his chemistry with Joe Flacco is on point.
It is,
and we went through it. We're pretty sure he's never thrown a pick, Flacco, targeting Cooper. So if I'm Joe Flacco, I'm like, well, this guy now Njoku is great, and all these other guys. This guy's my best player. I want to get this guy the ball. So I'm expecting Amari Cooper to have double-digit targets, and I'm expecting Amari Cooper to have 100 yards and a touchdown.
You know what's so fascinating, guys, is go back to the year 2019 when we had Odell Beckham and Jarvis. Go back further. You could go back, I would say, maybe 10, 15 years. The Cleveland Browns never, ever, ever, ever completed deep balls. I could count on my hand.
Maybe Josh Gordon.
Gordon.
You go back to Bernie. Bernie was good at deep balls. But Webster Slaughter, Reggie Langhorne.
Back, it's really only been Josh Gordon, and that team sucked, so it didn't matter.
Right, and it was fleeting. It lasted for that long,
And then you get now Joe Flacco. He comes in, He's hit a deep ball to Goodwin. He's hit multiple deep balls to David Njoku, who's throwing the ball deep, and Amari Cooper. I mean, so it's just like it's this part of the playbook that's been opened up now that it's weird because I'm not used to seeing it. I think we all aren't used to seeing that. Like, we're not used to seeing guys, take deep shots. We've taken shots before, but, they always talk about it. Some of those deep shots are just generated because you want to put a flag. You're like, let's throw it up here and see if we can get something.
Let me give you another stat that we're not used to. Despite the complaints about not running the ball enough, but people are not really doing that anymore because they're throwing the ball so well.
Me and Jay stopped them.
I know, we did.
Before Joe Flacco was the Browns quarterback this year, the Browns ran the ball on first down 50.4% of the time. Which was,
I bet that would be high.
Yeah, which is
compared to the league
ninth
average.
in the NFL,
Yeah.
eighth in the NFL.
Yeah, I would say that would be above the average.
Since Joe Flacco has become the quarterback, they passed the ball on first down. You want to guess what percentage of
I'd
time?
say 55 to 60%. Seems like they're always starting drives
What do
with
you
passing.
think? 55 to 60?
Yeah.
What do you say?
I'll go 70.
57%.
57, Mike?
I'm going 70.
Not quite that crazy, but Mike's closest. 65% of the time they throw on first down.
That's crazy.
Number one in the NFL. They throw the ball most on first down than any other team. And how good has their offense been?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, when John was making the point in the Cavaliers game about how this is an accident that they figured out what Jaron Allen, it was because of the two players that were injured.
Right.
Ball dominant guys, one that plays similarly to him. So they've kind of stumbled upon that, and it might help JB going forward because now he knows we have got to get Jared more involved in the offense. I think the Browns, and I don't want to say stumbled into this success. It happened accidentally, but this is what Kevin Stefanski's been trying to do with this offense since the day he arrived in town. Why are they doing that? The play fake, and again, the art of the play fake, which has been kind of washed out of the NFL, particularly those that carry it out so well, it's working because when Joe takes that turn and hides the ball on his hip, it freezes the safety for a split second. Sometimes, if the team is ready for a run-heavy offense, he'll even take a step towards the line to start cheating in. What does that allow the Browns to do? That one step is enough for a guy like Amari Cooper.
That's right.
Oh, you just gave me a free meal.
That's right. Yeah.
He's going to run by him, and Flacco is going to get him. So just like the Cavs kind of stumbled upon this Allen thing and unlocked his real potential, I think what the message of this season, whether it ends Saturday in Houston or it goes to the Super Bowl, the one thing that I hope they carry into next season and that Deshaun Watson has realized by watching this, damn, that's a weapon.
By the way,
that is a weapon, and he's got to start using it.
You know who is actually, I give him credit. Baker's actually decent at it, too.
Very good at it.
Nobody,
which is, I think,
Flacco's the best guy I've seen do it in years.
You're right. I keep bringing up Boomer
fantastic.
Esiason. Boomer, to me, was the best I've ever seen do it. And I've had other quarterbacks that I've asked that to.
Steve Young was really good.
Steve was pretty good at it, but everybody said Boomer made it. He spent a ton of time at the crouching just right.
Oh, yeah.
Someone once told me that Boomer used to look at tape of his handoffs so he could
imitate it.
Muscle memory what he does when he hands the ball off, because the safety can see the shoulders. And if the shoulders are coming down, then he's, if he constantly does that when he hands off the ball, you've got to go that far in carrying out the play fake. Same motion, ball on hip, stand up, and throw it.
And it's really, I used to think like, oh, you got to be a good running team to have an effective play action, but you don't.
Right.
You really don't, because the Browns, outside of the Jet game, have had an ineffective running game.
However, Bull, imagine this offense
then it makes it even,
with Nick Chubb as the run threat.
Sure,
then
it would be even more.
But here's my fear. My fear is teams are going to get on to what we're doing, and they're not afraid of our run game, and the defensive coordinator is preaching discipline, assignment. Guys, whether he's handing the ball off or not, defensive backfields, carry out your assignment. Once you're absolutely certain it's a run, then cheat up and let the front take care of stopping the run.
But the problem is that's easy to say.
I know it is.
Right?
I know, but you're going to come
in the game. Even if you hesitate for a millisecond,
just
it can
a second.
make a difference.
Even if you don't even if you can just freeze the safety for 1 second from helping deep coverage, and he's thinking run, so you're planting a seed that can grow an oak tree.
The problem is when all linebackers have keys. Their keys are usually linebackers' key to guards, right? Your defensive linemen usually key to tackles, and then your safeties look at your tackles and tight ends. So when you got play action is just not really just for the quarterback. When you have your offensive linemen coming off the ball and imitating run blocking, and they're really run blocking
But the thing is, they can't go downfield, which now is 1 yard.
Well, they can't go downfield. But if you're good at what you do and you understand that, and you can put yourself in a position to say, okay, I just need to sell it in the first few steps, then the keys is a false read.
Right, sure.
So false reads for linebackers are devastating. Pulling linemen, bringing the action back this way, because they're taught to read wherever the guard goes, that's 90% what the play is.
And it's a good point, because if you're reading the offensive lineman, you said, well, don't go until you know it's for sure it's a running back.
Sure.
Or it's a running
play.
Handoff. But if you're looking at the offensive lineman for the key, you don't know.
But I still think
I
know you said safeties are cheating and are looking at linemen, but they're looking at the quarterback too.
Yeah,
they're following the ball.
Yeah, they're looking at the quarterback size.
What it is it's a big shiny lure to a walleye in Lake Erie, and when that thing is spinning and all the colors are flying, that looks like a handoff to him, and he knows what he's supposed to do. That's his time to eat and come up to the line and help with run support. And just if you can do that 3 or 4 times a game, you've got 3 or 4 opportunities for deep shots.
We just got great news. Amari Cooper practicing today.
Yeah.
What else, Mike? Anything else?
That is great news.
Only other guys not practicing, Tillman and Hopkins. So it looks like it'll be Riley Patterson. We talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, we already knew that.
Off. Tillman still in concussion protocol. Guys, if the Texans do put 2, 3, 4 guys on Amari Cooper to slow him down, or at least attempt to slow him down on Saturday, how confident are you guys that Elijah Moore and David Bell on the outside, not Njoku, he doesn't count, but on the outside, whether it's Bell or Moore, can beat guys in one-on-one coverage and be a consistent, reliable factor in the passing game for Joe Flacco?
First of all, I just disagree with the premise of that question, because it's not easy to you can't just put 2, 3 guys on one guy. It just doesn't work that way. Otherwise, if it were that easy, we'd see it all the time against the best receivers, and that doesn't happen. So I disagree with the premise of the question. In theory, if the Texans can shut down Amari Cooper, that's a problem. I mean, I have a lot of faith in David Njoku, but I don't have a lot of faith in any of the other wide receivers being consistent in this game.
I think the wide receivers will be consistent because Joe Flacco is playing. If you look at it, when they throw the ball, David Bell, he's caught the ball, right? When they throw it into Elijah Moore, for the most part, he's caught the ball. When they throw to David Njoku, he's caught the ball.
We collectively have had a lot of drops. Now, that has not happened under Flacco.
Right.
And we were saying, is this a product of DTR throwing the ball 1,000,000 miles an hour? Looks like it was, because the drops have gone away.
P.J. Walker had drops. Even Deshaun Watson had some drops with some guys earlier in the season, like Elijah Moore and guys like that. So, for me, it's weird. It's like, it's just a professional offense. It's just, and that's hard to say, because I used to always ask myself, why are these routes never available when the Browns play? Seems like these guys are in a phone booth. Guys are all over us. We throwing into double and triple coverage. It was like, just to move the chains, it just felt like the Browns' previous offenses were just bottled up. And now you're starting to see guys just, I'm going to run my 12-yard comeback route wide open. I'm going to run we could even get deep over a drag route to work. Now David Njoku catches 2 or 3 of those a game.
How do you explain that, G? I think the only thing that's different is Flacco. But you're right. You've complained about the offense for 2 years. How it just has never resembled a really good, well-oiled passing offense. And Joe Flacco comes in, and in 5 games, all of a sudden, guys are open. He has multiple options on some plays for different receivers, where in the past it looks like there's nobody open and able to catch a football.
You know what? I've gone back, and because I have all these games and all 22, and I went back a little bit during the Cincinnati week and was watching it. There are a lot of times where they're calling these same type plays, right? for all the quarterbacks, P.J. Walker, DTR.
Why are they working with Flacco?
Because Flacco is taking certain things. He's taking that little check down. He's taking those little small routes that you don't really – the other guys are looking for big plays. There's times where there may be a guy coming open for 10 yards, and they're looking deep to get the big play. They're looking for the big shot play. And the great thing about what Flacco does is if you notice how many opportunities you see either Jerome Ford or Amari Cooper have the ability to catch the ball and run afterwards.
Right.
And we weren't seeing that. Sometimes you just got to take that. And if you keep taking that check down or keep taking that little dump off or you keep taking that and guys are running, after the catch, they're going to be frustrated. And when they get frustrated, they're going to come up and then you can get your deep shots.
So it's timing, you think?
It's timing.
And that's a veteran savvy, just knowledge of the game.
Yeah, just knowing that I don't have to get that right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna log that away and I can get. I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna revisit it.
It's like a good chess player.
Yeah, good chess player. Or you get older. You know what I'm saying? So you got a little expendable income. You start working. You get a job, and you be like, I don't really need that. I don't need that car yet. I'll check on it in a year or so.
Yeah.
And for a young guy, what you mean? I ain't checking on no car in a year.
It now.
I want that today. But the older savvy guy is like, you go right back to that car lot. It's half the price it was, and I don't got to finance it. Right?
Yeah, right.
So it's
patience.
All about patience. It's all you think about, man.
And that comes with experience, and he certainly has it.
Yeah. I don't think in the end, though, the Texans will be able to shut down Amari Cooper.
I saw
I don't either.
Last week when Aaron Rodgers was, I think it was his last appearance because ESPN has said no more. Although I guess his contract, I found out yesterday, only ran through the regular season. But they asked him about Joe Flacco, and I got to tell you, his praise for Joe Flacco was effusive. He said, I think the question was, are you surprised by it? He says, I'm surprised he's still able to do it, coming just completely out of the game for a year and coming back and still have it. But he said, I have always thought that Joe Flacco throws the prettiest football of anyone that's played during my era. Think about that.
That's crazy.
Some good ones played in the Aaron Rodgers era.
Very
and when you watch the Joe Flacco flight path and the spiral, he throws a textbook, beautiful pass.
Well, part of that is he's huge.
He can get his hand around the ball.
Right? And it's coming from such a high angle.
Sure.
I don't even think he's thinking out there. I just don't. You know how you get to a point, and I remember this, like, when you guys would do shows, and Bull, you know this, you used to do 5-hour shows, and as you became to be a veteran, you could do a 5-hour show by yourself with no guest and no partner. Somebody be out sick, but you get to this rhythm where it's like, okay, I got this scripted thing in my back pocket. Hour 2, I'm going to go off on this tangent over here. And you just pretty much going off no script. You good. And when you start to play when you're not thinking, that's when magic happens.
Right. Yeah.
That's when the best thing, if
loose and free.
If you want to be viral, just say stuff enough and be real with it, and it'll happen for you. So Flacco, when I see him throwing the football, there's no intimidation. There's no negativity. It's like he's out there playing with this free spirit. Like, there's nothing. And I've seen that before and playing against other quarterbacks where it was just like, oh, yeah, we ain't winning this game. Ain't nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, you can just tell by the confidence and the air around the quarterback.
He's got nothing to lose.
No, free
Nothing.
and easy. Free and easy, house money.
If he plays badly and they lose this game, it sucks.
Yeah.
And it sucks for him, but it's not going to, his career is already what it is. He can only add to it, not really subtract.
We have our next guest, and let's bring in Aditi Kinkhabwala after a quick word from FanDuel. The NFL regular season may have wrapped up, but there's still plenty of time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when they place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, including live same-game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explorer tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best and easiest way to find popular parlays, and so much more. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. With that, let's welcome in Aditi, who has to start today's appearance with the story from the airport yesterday. What's up, Aditi?
Yeah, you got.
Oh, hey. Yes. So, okay, JG, you'll love this. I texted Adam and Mikey yesterday. I am walking through the Pittsburgh airport yesterday, and all of a sudden a TSA agent calls out, Aditi, I love you on CSS. And I turned around because remember, I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm like, on what? Like, how does he even know it's me? And then what is he talking about? And he goes, I'm a huge Cleveland fan. I love you on UCSS.
That's awesome.
We crossed over.
Yeah, they're watching us. They're watching us in Pittsburgh.
I know, and I felt so bad. Well, okay. So, side note to that, I was wearing my elf sweatshirt. And in the morning at the airport, this woman was giving me these like nasty looks. And I was like, what the hell is she looking at? Like, what is going on? Is this like one of Matt's ex-girlfriends? Like, what is going on? And then I look down and I see the elf. I'm like, oh, I'm wearing an elf sweatshirt in Pittsburgh. There you go. So that's how I started the morning. But then the way I came home. And
did the TSA guy say, yeah, as for that Filipponi guy, he's an idiot?
Yeah.
Did he say that?
Filipponi didn't even have me on yesterday. So there you go. But, you know, I told Mikey I missed this perfect spot. Like, I should have run back to the TSA agent and said, let's take a video so I could show everyone this is really true. But I'm delirious from all the travel. Sorry, guys. And I go to Kansas City. So here we go.
I got to ask, since we're on Pittsburgh, I got to ask you this question. Is there any way, what is the path to victory for the Steelers over the Bills? I'm doing some deep math here. Is there any way? What do they got to do? I want the Steelers to win for 1 week only. What do they got to do to beat the Bills, and do they have a shot?
I don't know. Go to Josh Allen into 4 interceptions. It's anything can happen. If there's anything that we have learned, I jokingly, and I say this with all due respect, but I was texting a friend and I was like, yeah, they're the Mike Tomlin cockroaches, meaning that they never die. And I don't even call them Pittsburgh Steelers. That's the magic of Mike Tomlin. I mean, either way you look at it, it's either the magic or it's the pain of it, because they never hit full reset because they're always sort of in this position. But you can never count the Steelers out. Does it look good for them without TJ Watt? They're 1-10 all time without TJ Watt. TJ Watt is the guy, the last time that I was in Buffalo to cover a Steelers-Bills game, it was TJ Watt who single-handedly secured that victory for the Steelers at the end. It's tough, but anything is possible. That's the fun part of the playoff.
He's definitely out, right?
He's definitely out, right?
Mike Tomlin said he is indeed out.
Yeah, you know, Aditi, it's funny that they are cockroaches in the regular season, but their kryptonite seems to be the playoffs.
Yes.
Well, and that's very, very true. In a conversation I had with another coach who I probably can't say more because then I'll reveal who the coach is, but that is actually a conversation that I had at Newark Airport yesterday with someone that, you know, we sit here but again, it's what you want, right? So on the one hand, the Steelers are always in the conversation, and now today, Mike Tomlin officially becomes the longest tenured head coach in the National Football League, and okay. But when you're an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers, 3 playoff wins in 12 years should not be the standard. No playoff wins in 6 years should not be the standard.
Aditi, let's talk. Aditi, you're right, 100% right about everything you said about the Steelers. Let's talk about Joe Flacco. Obviously, the guy has this incredible track record in the postseason. He is 6-0 or 7-0 in the first round of the playoffs. I know he's never lost. He has tied with Tom Brady for the most road wins in the history of the postseason. As good as CJ Stroud is, and he's been just an absolutely remarkable rookie, and obviously if you're starting a team, you'd rather have CJ Stroud than Joe Flacco. But we all agreed that at least for right now in this game, we'd rather have Joe Flacco than CJ Stroud. Is that crazy, or is it make sense?
No, because this is the time of year when that experience matters. This all goes back to what we're saying about Mike Tomlin and how Mike Tomlin is able to pull certain things out of certain players in certain moments. That's exactly what it is. Joe Flacco has already been here. I just heard you say this, actually, Adam. Joe Flacco's already got the Super Bowl MVP. He's already got the Super Bowl trophy. He's already got the millions and millions and millions of dollars. This is all, he's been there, he's done that. Everything isn't riding on this. He's already been derided and written off. He's already been extolled. He's lived all of that. He is not going to stress about any of that. And it again, like, it goes back to last year, week 2, when The Jets were down by 2 scores with less than 2 minutes to go, and I'm watching Joe Flacco walk up and down that sideline and very calmly tell his then Jets teammates, guys, we have plenty of time. Guys, we're still in this game. And they were. So it's that experience that helps Joe Flacco in a moment like, what day are we, Thursday? 2 days from now. 2 days from now, that's going to help Joe Flacco. A crazy road environment? Come on, you just said he's won more road playoff games than anybody other than Tom Brady. He's done this. He's been there. He's not going to be scared. He's not going to be nervous. He's not going to make a stupid mistake because he's trying to do too much or because he doesn't know the time and situation. So all of this, of course, you'd want Joe Flacco leading your team right here.
Hey, Aditi, empty your notebook on CJ Stroud. Have you called any of his games this year? What kind of interactions have you had with him? We know he's a tremendous young man. The Houston media voted him the Texans' good guy for the season. What can you tell us about him and also about his game?
He was elected a captain before he ever started a game. Wow, and he is not necessarily as ebullient or vocal as a Joe Burrow, who was elected a captain before he ever started a game. CJ is a little bit more, let's call it, reserved. But the reason he's elected a captain is because there's absolutely uncommon maturity about him and this fire that while he doesn't need to go out there and call out everybody, this is sort of, I'll draw the Baker Mayfield comparison. Baker Mayfield hears somebody knock him and he makes note of it and he publicly makes note of it. Yep. CJ Stroud hears somebody knock him, like happened with that acuity test or that the next version of the Wonderlic. Right. And he files it away. He doesn't bring it up immediately. He doesn't lash out about it immediately. He at some point this season did indeed say, I have a feeling where that came from. But you better believe that he takes that and it's playing somewhere on his shoulder, in his head, whatever the cliche is. I had CJ's very first game, and I'll tell you, I feel very strongly that I witnessed the moment when he said, okay, I can do this. You know, his first few drives, he was in Baltimore. Baltimore was a little bit rusty, obviously, because they hadn't played guys in the preseason, but still, you know what that defense is now. They were bringing it. CJ was a little bit, I don't want to call it flustered, but he looked like a rookie who had never played in the NFL, starting his very first game in a hostile road environment against a great defense. And at one point early in the game, D'Amico Ryans came up to him on the bench, kind of held his face mask and said, just play. No matter what, just play. And it's like CJ went, and the very next drive, I'm not kidding because I talked about this with D'Amico just a few weeks ago, the very next drive, CJ just seemed to have a little bit more confidence in who he was. At the end of that first half, the Texans put together a very long drive that ultimately ended in a field goal, I believe, not a touchdown. But it was just like you saw CJ come into his own. And then week 4, my crew, I wasn't with them. This is when we were trading out. My crew had Houston again, and they said CJ was just a completely different person in the meeting room. Not quite as deferential, not quite as quiet, he's still soft-spoken, but I think that when you stack reps showing that you can do it, when you continue to have success, that only gives you continued confidence. That only builds your assurance. I belong here and I know that I can do this. And when we talk about veterans, he's got a great veteran in the room in Case Keenum. I mean, you can't ask for a better guy to be in that room sitting on the bench next to you than Case Keenum. So, you know, he's overcome a fair amount this year, too. That offensive line has been completely in flux. He's got a first-year play caller in Bobby Slowick, and we all know that Bobby Slowick is now getting calls for interviews for head coaching jobs, so he is a very talented coach who's really put in his time on both sides of the ball. But CJ's an impressive young man. He's a very impressive young man, and this is not a knock on him for me to say that I would like Joe Flacco in this game. Maybe I'm just biased because, you know, age is a good thing in my mind.
In all of our minds.
Yeah, maybe if I were 22.
That's true. Hey, Aditi, this game probably, I don't know, I mean, at least in my opinion, features the top 2 candidates for Coach of the Year. So who are you voting for? I know we've talked about this before, but If you had this, you know, the regular season's over. If you had your vote, would these guys be your top two? And if so, who would be the winner?
Yes, they 100% would be my top two. And I know there's a good argument to be made for John Harbaugh because he made the changes that needed to be made and look at where they are and he believed in Lamar, all of that. But my top two are definitely Kevin Stefanski and DeMeco Ryans. I think that, well, I don't know how to phrase this. Okay. My top two candidates for Coach of the Year would be Kevin Stefanski and DeMeco Ryans. I think the way that DeMeco Ryans, upon his hiring, energized that team, that city, and immediately flipped the switch on the culture and the expectation in that building is tremendous. I think the way that he is connected with his players, and especially a rookie quarterback and the staff that he has built, all of that is insanely impressive. However, my vote goes to Kevin Stefanski, if I had a vote, because of all of the injuries that he has had to overcome. And they are not injuries to guys. They are injuries to very, very, very key pieces. When you lose your all-pro right tackle week one, okay, that's a big knock. When you lose the heart and soul of your team and everybody's favorite teammate week two, and the person that makes your offense go, wow. When you have your star quarterback in and out through the first chunk of the season, and yet you're still there, then you lose that star quarterback after arguably your best performance. That is a wow. When you were getting Joe Flacco that nobody else even called off the couch to play like an MVP, to suddenly be the arguably comeback player of the year. When you do all of that, when you're smart enough to hire a new special teams coordinator in Bubba Ventrone that energizes these young guys, when you're smart enough to bring in Jim Schwartz that has that defense that granted is insanely talented, but is getting the most out of that talent to be a number one defense. All of that. And again, riding a real shot at winning a playoff game against all odds in the craziest of seasons.
I'll flip it. Okay. If the Browns win this week, right? What is the storyline if Joe Flacco goes into Baltimore? You know that team. Are there going to be people that really are kind of torn between Joe Flacco and because that's a big storyline?
Oh, I mean, I've heard from Ravens fans already that are saying that, oh my goodness, they can't help but root for Joe Flacco. Which, how awesome is that too? P.S. That this is somebody who's moved on from their team, is playing for a bitter rival, and you still root for that guy. Like, that really says everything you want anybody to say about Joe Flacco. But again, be where your feet are.
Hey,
Let's talk about next week.
Aditi, I agree with that 100%, but I want to tell a quick story that involves the Ravens and a castaway quarterback.
Okay.
When I was in Tampa, the Buccaneers cut bait on Trent Dilfer. And there was some thought that he might be done. There really was, because Trent did not have a lot of success in Tampa. He goes to Baltimore, and although he didn't beat the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, he won the Super Bowl in Raymond James Stadium. And I was one of the first to chat with Trent immediately after the game. And in typical Trent Dilfer fashion, and I imagine Joe Flacco would be the same way, I asked him if it was any more special because it was in Tampa, a city that had mercilessly booed him right out of town. And he just looked at the camera and said, no, Super Bowl's a Super Bowl. You can't get any better. It doesn't matter who you beat or how you do it. That's negative energy, and I've never concerned myself with that. And I honestly think deep inside, would Joe Flacco love to eliminate Baltimore from the playoffs? Probably, but I bet if he does, he won't stand in front of cameras and gloat about it. It's just, it is what it is.
He was as classy as could be that season when his back was hurting him, and he wasn't necessarily 100%. And John Harbaugh made the switch to Lamar Jackson. And initially it was simply because Joe Flacco wasn't healthy. And then they were just riding the magic of what Lamar Jackson was giving them. They retooled their offense. As you know, they went into the playoffs. Then in the first round of that playoffs, that first half was awful. They went into halftime. The offense was awful. They went into halftime. When they came out, Joe Flacco was indeed warming up, But James Urban, the quarterback's coach, had said to John Harbaugh, what's the future here? And what's the statement that we're really making? Ooh. And I had this conversation. What's the statement we're making to Lamar Jackson? I actually talked to John Harbaugh about this in the locker room after that. And Harbaugh had said, if we win this game with Joe Flacco, and then the next week we go and we lose, because he was smart enough to recognize, I don't know that we have a Super Bowl team right now. We have a good team and things can happen, but he'd already been there. He knew when a team could get hot. He knew when a team had the tools, when things were likely. And John Harbaugh had the foresight to think about the long-term future of Lamar Jackson. And I'll tell you that right then he also said, and Joe is as good of a guy as comes, which he never said whether Joe was a part of that conversation. It was never would Joe sulk? And I'll tell you, I watched Joe on the sideline of that second half. He just continued doing everything that he had done in the first half, helping and supporting Lamar in every way that he could. Yeah. It's not like he threw down the towel and was like, oh, you should have put me in there. It's just not who Joe Flacco is. He's just a classy guy, and you're right. I can't imagine him, Jay, standing up there and crowing.
Aditi, let's wrap it up with this. There is not a single player in the NFL that was in the NFL the last time the Browns played a playoff game in front of fans. That was 2002. So this is huge against the Texans. Who will win this game?
My choice is the Browns. I see the Browns winning. I do.
All right.
And that's not just, I will just say this, that is not simply because I work with them in the preseason. It is simply because I think that Browns defense is ready to go, and I really, really, really appreciate Joe Flacco's playoff experience.
Good answer.
We like it.
Answer.
Thanks,
I've already seen, also, P.S., I've already seen Kevin Stefanski go on the road and win a playoff game. I was there for that one.
Although he wasn't.
Yeah, but he wasn't there.
Oh, yes.
He was in his basement.
What a good point.
Yeah.
What a good point.
It was AVP, but hopefully he'll be there for this one.
So should I message Kevin Stefanski that?
Yes.
Hey, the last time your team won a road playoff
No,
game,
we don't want any negative juju around the guy.
I don't think he'll like that text.
Avoid that. Aditi, have a great week. We'll talk next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
We'll be talking about the Browns' next opponent.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. We got Bernie Kosar in about 10 minutes. We're going to play a game of Browns playoff trivia first, but also before the game on Saturday, WKYC right here, Channel 3, has a full lineup of content. Their pregame huddle show starts at 2:30. NBC's Football Night in America starts at 3, leading you up to kickoff at 4:30. We also have 2 shows on the UCSS channel on Saturday morning, new content for you guys, so make sure you guys tap into UCSS on YouTube in the morning, then WKYC in the afternoon. All right, guys, it's time for a little Browns playoff trivia, true or false edition. Are you ready?
Yes,
Let's see who knows their Browns the best. And
I've won true or false 2 times in a row here. I'm on fire.
Anthony, can you confirm our official scorekeeper?
Now, what was one of those in 2023?
We have only played
I won
game
the first
in 2024.
one of the year. Didn't I?
And Bull did win on January 3rd.
No, I came back and beat you.
Oh, I won the last one.
You won the last one in 23.
Yeah, and you did. You came back from 2 down, I think, and won.
Steve, let's hit the music. Let's go.
Doom, 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 doom.
Oh, boy.
Sometime today, Steve.
Please let the official record know that Tyvis is missing this one.
Oh, believe us.
Okay.
He'll remind us.
He'll remind us.
Question number 1, true or false?
By the way, where is Tyvis all this week?
Yeah.
What's he doing?
Tyvis is doing something with the collective yesterday, and he was actually filling in for Josh Perry on the stadium in Chicago on Tuesday.
Oh, that's
so
right.
we got
I
a
knew
big
that.
opportunity, so we're really happy
Yep.
for Tyvis. True or false? The Browns have never played a postseason game in Houston before. True or false?
I got a defective marker.
I'm sending out the marker guy. Hold on. I'm on it.
So I'm going to write down my answer, and then I'll tell you what I said after you tell me the answer. I don't know what's wrong with it here.
G. Bush says true. Nice swap there. Anthony made the catch. Des Bryant didn't, but Anthony did. Bull says false. Jay says false. G. Bush, you're either going to be in the lead or behind to start, and you are. It is true.
Yep.
Wow.
It
so
is
that
true.
Clay Matthews, the big Clay Matthews win against the Oilers, that was home. For some reason, I thought that was on the road.
They have never played a Houston game.
I
knew they played the Oilers, but I couldn't remember.
Shout out to Haywood Jeffries.
Good job out of you, G.
Haywood Jeffries.
Number
Dan
2. Pastorini? Number 2.
Way back. Bump Phillips.
Back.
Joe Flacco has the same amount of postseason wins as the Browns do as a franchise since 1954.
Man, you gonna go back? I don't like when y'all do guys pick 54. It ain't no real. Like, come on. He kind of dug in.
Should have been like since 1970 something.
Yeah, or at least 1964 last time they. Or 99. Come on, man. This is terrible.
Maybe there's a reason I picked that year in particular. Maybe there's not.
Man, I'm gonna go with this, man.
Bull says true. 2 false is the answer. And the new leader is the reigning champ, Adam the Bull. It is true.
Damn.
They both have 10
That's
postseason
sad.
wins.
I'm not a leader. We're tied. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
I just
tied.
got one
I'm sorry.
That's
I thought
sad.
Bull got the first one.
I
Sorry.
just thought there's no way he can have as many.
That's
Well,
crazy.
I don't know.
This
Back in the old
54?
days, there were less rounds to the playoffs
Right.
when they had their success.
Yeah.
But then you throw in the late 80s and early 90s.
But
Even
they-
in 79, they won a playoff game. Wow.
Right, but
That's-
most of those years, even when they won, they only won one game, a couple of twos.
Well, the years they won the championship, they won at least 2.
right, but those were most of those championships were pre that year, right?
No.
Pre-54.
No, they won championships after 54.
No, I know they won some, but they
Yeah.
won some of them before that.
Oh, they did, yes.
Yeah.
But they won championships post 54.
Right, I think some of them might have been just one game.
No, I
don't
know
know
it was
if there
much
were 2
fewer
games
rounds to
back
the
then,
NFL.
I can tell you the exact dates if you really want to know.
No, move on.
Sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Next question. Bernie Kosar is the only quarterback in Browns history with more than 1,500 passing yards in the playoffs. True or false? That's our next guest coming up in about 5 minutes.
Changing my answer.
Uh-oh. Well, it's never
I
good
went
when you change your
against
answer.
my better judgment on this one.
Hold on.
Because my instincts, the first 2 were wrong, so I'm trying to.
Switch it up.
My immediate
Doing the
thought was
stanza
one
right now.
way, and I went the exact
Going to
opposite.
stanza.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm
So,
doing.
Jay, what do you have?
I'm going false.
Jay says false.
False.
Bull
I
says false.
changed to
G
false.
says true. And G, you're right. Bernie Kosar is the lone quarterback in
I
Browns history.
changed my
so
answer.
when I'm
Number
my
2,
instinct
by
is
the
right,
way.
I
Is
changed.
Otto Graham?
Otto Graham's number 2 with 1,200. Bernie actually
I
has
thought Otto
1,900.
might have
I
been
thought, yeah,
barely
yeah.
above.
Okay.
Otto
Next
threw a
question.
lot.
G. Bush
For
in
that
the
time,
lead.
yeah.
Dating back to the beginning of the franchise, the Browns have a winning playoff record.
What?
True or false?
That doesn't include the is it include
No, that's
the,
in every postseason game this team's ever played. going
before
back
they
to
were in the NFL.
Before the NFL, the history of the
Oh,
Because they
franchise.
won 4 championships
Yeah.
pre-NFL.
Yeah, they did.
This goes all the way back
But
to
those were one
1946.
Those were one-game playoffs.
Yeah. So
This is, I guess, 46 on. So when the franchise began, yeah.
Yeah.
dating back to the beginning of the franchise, they have a winning record in the playoffs. Oh.
G. Bush says
If
true.
I miss this, it's my goal to miss all of them.
You going time?
Three
I'm gonna try
truths.
to go the
Guys.
imperfect game.
It's false. They're 17 and 21 all time in the postseason.
Now I gotta miss them all.
Jay's
I mean, you're
0 for
only
4
down
on
by
Browns
2.
Playoff
Yeah, but
history.
see, when you go, this isn't really what I would have done. Was I would have gone to something that our fans would know, like people say, "Oh yeah, I remember." Like we're going back into the
40s.
annals of the.
You guys are supposed to be the smartest Browns fans I
no,
know.
you have to understand that, and I used to criticize both for being this way, but I'm the
Yeah.
same damn way, so I can't. If it happened before I was born, I don't care.
They don't count, right?
It didn't happen. You know.
Great accomplishments by the people that did it, but
Yeah,
it's like,
I can't weigh them. I can't.
Yeah,
they have no
I-
merit to me.
All right, next up.
yeah.
Otto Graham trails Bernie Kosar on the Browns' postseason passing yards list, which we already established. But Graham has more passing touchdowns than Bernie in the playoffs. True or false?
A lot of the Browns touchdowns.
As a member of the Otto Graham family, one of his grandkids emails me regularly.
I bet he doesn't even know
His
this.
great-granddaughter was in Aaron's play.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
2 truths and a false. G. Bush is on fire. It's false. Bernie has 15. Otto
I got
had
one
10.
more. I think I can do it.
Has G locked
Maybe
it up
if I
already?
refuse to answer, it would be the imperfect
Anthony,
game.
what's the
G is in the lead with 3. Bull, you have 1. Jay, you
The reason I said the reason I thought it would have been the other way around. I remember a lot of the Browns rushing touchdowns in the Kosar year, or touchdowns in the playoffs were rushing touchdowns. But
rushing yards is exactly where we're going next.
He did.
How about this one?
How many more we got? 3?
3 more.
In 1947,
No.
Right.
who was the long snapper for
Of
the
the
Browns?
6 teams playing in the AAFL.
How about this one? Otto Graham has more career postseason rushing yards than Jim Brown. True or false?
Well, okay, so I'm going counterintuitive here. You would say he wouldn't be asking this unless it was true. Because we would all be like, what? And I know how much Mikey loves for all of us to go, what? So even though I think it was true, I'm trying for the imperfect game. So I'm throwing a fastball down the middle, hoping the guy hits a home run.
Jay's fastball just got hit for a grand slam.
Yeah!
Otto Graham in 7 games had 292 rushing yards. Jim Brown in 4 games for 242.
Because you know Mike wanted to make us all say, what?
I know.
He only averaged 6.
Man,
Jim Brown only averaged 60 yards.
I don't care if that. I don't care if that was
shocking.
right. I don't care if that was true. It's Jim Brown, and he got more rushing yards than everybody.
Exactly.
2 more.
How many more?
I knew
Just 2
Otto
more.
Graham had
Oh
played a
my
lot more
God,
in
how
the
many are we
playoffs.
doing?
8, same as always.
Please make them somewhat relevant.
No, it's too late.
One is very relevant. One
Okay,
we're going
good.
back. We're going back.
black and
Like
white.
one
end
that's
with
not going to be a guess.
We'll end with the relevant one. This
Okay.
next one we're going back. How about Brian Brennan? Currently holds the #1 spot on the Browns' all-time list for receiving touchdowns.
Man, that must have been his picture.
What?
After he was drafted out of Boston College. He never wore that number for the Browns.
Get out of here. This is easy money. No,
G. Bush says false.
all-time leading receiver with touchdowns. Stop.
Well, he wants us to go, what?
Yeah.
Or do I?
So I got to keep the imperfect game going.
Jay says false. Bull says true. The answer, Steve, let's see it,
It's true.
is false.
Get out of here.
Oh, no.
Do you know
outta
who?
here.
Do you know who has more? He's tied. He's second behind
I
Gary
would say Ozzie
Collins.
Newsome.
Gary Collins and Webster Slaughter each have 5.
Ooh,
Brennan
Webster.
has 4.
Webster was he was a big money guy. In the big games, like the Steelers games, he always played well.
I forgot he played for the Oilers.
Last
too.
one, guys, then we'll
Yeah,
bring
I
in
know.
Bernie Kosar.
Yeah.
This
I think
is a
he's
relevant
listening
one,
to
Jay.
now.
Dang.
You wanted a 21st century? Here's a 21st century.
Good.
If
Fine.
Joe Flacco can throw for 400 yards against the Texans this week, he'll become the second Browns quarterback to ever throw for 400 yards in a wild card game. True or false?
You become the second?
Will become the second.
Okay, I got this. And it's easy money.
Well, provided no one did it before Bernie.
True, true, true.
I mean-
3 trues, 3 correct answers.
Yeah, because I remember.
I believe it was Kelly Holcomb.
And it is.
Yes,
It was Kelly Holcomb. Anthony, who's our winner?
G. Bush is our winner with 5.
Yeah!
So you, the smartest
You know, I
Browns
just
fan on the
realized,
panel.
When I looked at you during this true or false, I just looked right here. Bull, look right here. Tell me that doesn't look like a lion.
Yes.
Like that looks like lion for a bro.
If I would have got, if it was a lion, hey, that's kind of cold.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we're going to bring in our next guest who was on our Browns playoff history
Spooky.
trivia, and he's brought to us today by Jace Medical. I know sports are a place to escape the crazy realities of life, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade, and that is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than one of your loved ones or kids getting sick while a supply chain issue kept them from their life-saving medication. But thankfully, we're all okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinuses, skin infections, and others. Visit jacemedical.com. Complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispersed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important or to be prepared than today, so go to jacemedical.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your purchase. And with that, let's welcome in the man, the myth, the legend, Bernie Kosar.
Bernie, how you doing, man?
Bernie.
I'm doing good, guys.
Where are you right now? Are you at home or are you on the road?
No, I am at Georgetown University. Brought my son back to college to start this year. So as much as I want to be in studio today, little parenting course is taking effect here. So if you like my scenic tropical background here in Georgetown.
I love it, actually. I love it. What's your take on this playoff game, Bernie? The big question we've been asking this week is a rookie who is not your ordinary rookie. In fact, he's done something that only Tom Brady and Joe Montana have ever done before, and that's lead the NFL amongst qualified quarterbacks with at least 8 starts in passing yards per game and touchdown to interception ratio. It's only been done 3 times. He's done it as a rookie. So what are you valuing here? This spectacular rookie or the playoff experience of Joe Flacco?
So first and foremost, I have to give a shout out to Mikey here and tell him thank you so much for swallowing up my cranium with so many of those trivia questions right there. And I want to say that genuinely in jest and stuff, and in the spirit of levity. But I'm sitting here really honored and humbled right now to be mentioned in the same breath with Otto Graham and stuff. And I'm going to try to represent my intelligence here like I knew all of that stuff, because I so look up to Otto Graham and his family, and Bull, just like you beautifully pointed out. You talk to some of his great grandkids and stuff, and like myself, I keep in touch with his family. And God, I'm just so blessed right now emotionally to kind of hear some of those cool records as you kind of relive that and almost relive your youth, which transitions me into kind of that question of CJ and his youth. And again, coming from Ohio State and watching him play his college career and then seeing his transition so quickly into the NFL. If it was just purely talking about him as a person and him as a quarterback, boy, I could keep glowing and glowing on that, because statistically the stuff you bring up is super impressive. But the way he's also doing it, the first play of the game at Indianapolis last week, the season's on the line. This is a rookie with the rookie head coach, D'Amico Ryan, who, and I'm not trying to be overly funny or pointed here and profiling, but defensive coaches very rarely want to come into a game, and especially on the road, and they have a good defense, where they're going to allow the rookie quarterback to go bombs away on the first play of the game like that. So, one, for him to be able to execute it, 2, for them to have the trust in him to do it, and then for him to have that type of abilities at this young an age. It's super impressive to actually, to the point where I'm so high on our Cleveland Browns and I'm so high on Joe Flacco that actually CJ Stroud as a rookie is one of the main guys actually within the whole playoff scope of the AFC that I am actually concerned for. And that's a tribute to him and something that maybe into the game we really have to get after it, and how we're going to attack him as a rookie. And when you hit that first bomb, like he did against Indianapolis, boy, your confidence, your enthusiasm, the belief on the sideline goes through the roof. But it actually goes through the roof in terms of your belief and confidence in you internally. So as good as that was last week, that's the thing we want to stunt early in the game. So not letting him get off early like Indianapolis did. And if we have an ability to kind of the Myles Garrett factor and our D-line being healthy, putting that pressure, if we could kind of erode his confidence or not allow him to settle in like he settled in against Indianapolis, that bodes it way better for us in the scope of trying to ultimately do the Jimmy Johnson line, which is all that matters now. This time of the year is somehow, some way end up with a W. That's one of the best ways, I think, to somehow, some way we're going to get a W on Saturday, is getting after CJ early, hopefully not giving him the opportunity at a big play. And then having him doubt himself a little bit by just like in some of the games where the Myles Garrett factor happened with the Cleveland Browns only rushing 4 guys, yet it looks like we're rushing 6 because Myles Garrett is just disruptive on just about every play. And that's something that absolutely would bode well for us on Saturday afternoon.
Bernie, we were talking about this combination of a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach, very rare. It's only happened maybe 1 or 2 times that they, obviously with you and Marty Schottenheimer, he had just taken over in the middle of the season the year before your rookie season, and then obviously you went to the playoffs your rookie year. You guys lost in the first round, but next year you came back, you won your first round game. What's that like when you're a rookie and you're playing the regular season and you're having a good year as a rookie like he has? He's had a magnificent season. But playing in that first playoff game, is there another level of anxiety? I mean, you played at a huge university in Miami. He played at a huge university at Ohio State. But even with that experience, is there something about playing that first playoff game that's another level of anxiety or something like that?
Well, it's another level of speed. I don't want to use the word anxiety, okay? Because the word anxiety is used a ton here in society today, and a lot of us talk about anxiety. We talk about depression. We talk about being a little bit afraid or nervous of things. It's about CJ and Joe Flacco in the game this week. But in terms of a rookie and stuff, I just reflect back to me, whether it was a Monday night game or you're the only guy in town playing, and now there's 32 teams, all 31 other quarterbacks are watching, whether they say so or not. It's the same in a playoff, and that even more so. So I don't call it a level of anxiety. As I put myself back in that seat back in 1985, it's a massive level of excitement and anticipation. And this will absolutely sound like I'm an egotist or a cranium inflator, but you have to yearn and love that you're the man going out there, and every other quarterback in this world is watching me play right now, and I'm going to show I belong. I really am going to show I belong. And I remember playing against the Dolphins. Oh, yeah, they ended up coming back and losing. But that first quarter, that first step onto the field, nothing was going to stop me from scoring. Nothing was going to stop me from looking good, okay, and playing good, not just to show myself, to show my teammates. I wanted to show the world that I deserve to be here. And that's, unfortunately, a mindset that I believe CJ Stroud has also, that it's not anxiety, it's I'm ready.
Bernie, so let's stay right there on mindset. We'll flip over from CJ Stroud to if you were in the position of Joe Flacco, obviously you've called your own plays. You've been pivotal in the offensive, the philosophy that you guys had where you were playing back then. What would be your goal offensively in this game? How would you come out and start this game? What would your script look like? And would you come out and try to start off fast? Would you come out running the ball, throwing the ball, short stuff? What would you want to do against the Texans team in the first few drives that you had the ball to set the tone?
Again, whether I'm a rookie or I can't say my 16th year because I didn't make it that far, but if I was a rookie through 12 years, anytime I got a chance to come out in the meaningful games, I wanted to meaningfully be a part of what happened. So that old, let's start slow, let's run it, let's see what happened, there's no way that's what I'd be doing. So I believe Joe Flacco and Coach Stefanski are so in tune and so locked into finding the little idiosyncrasies, the little mistakes, the little opportunities within the scheme of the Texans defense. We have all 17 games to look at. We have our game from a month ago to look at. We are all creatures of habit. You cannot scheme and trick people and keep changing through the course of the year. So most of us are who we are right now. Our offense is kind of who we are. more importantly, their defense is what they are. Yeah, they will have a trick or two, but in the heat of battle, it will get down to what they have been doing through the course of the season. And Joe Flacco and Kevin Stefanski and those 400 analytics people in the building in Berea will absolutely know some of these tendencies, and the big dogs will find plays to be able to go after it. So if an opportunity presents itself early from an evaluation of some of their pre-game tendencies and other game tendencies, I absolutely know they'll be ready for that, on top of really good coaches and really good intelligent schemed people layer out their plays and game plans. So the next evolution of what are some of the plays, what are some of the formations, what are some of the personnel groups that we've been using that for sure, what did we do against them a month ago, and how do we evolve off of that? The Houston Texans and DeMeco Ryan will be practicing, preparing for what we have already shown on film. We will have counters to that in personnel groups, motions, and shifts. And again, they're a sound fundamental team. So being able to make some adjustments off of that, I absolutely see Joe Flacco being able and Kevin Stefanski to do that and strategically taking shots. And we're not gonna go down being conservative in the playoffs. So I really look for a really well schemed game from our side in particular.
I agree. They're not going to play conservative. They're not going to, this idea that, we got to, rail in. Not thinking of the word. Rein in. Rein in? Is that the word I'm looking for?
It.
Rein in Joe Flacco so he doesn't turn the ball over. That's just not realistic. He is who he is. He's playing this way. You got to stick with it, Bernie, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I tried to be quiet just a little bit to let you finish. Teams don't lose. You don't luck your way. You don't. The team doesn't typically lose their way in a playoff game. You have to go take it. You have to win it, especially on the road. You have to go at this. So, Joe Flacco and the tentative play, that's the least of my worries. That's the least of my worries going into this game.
Bernie, who wins?
Oh, Browns. I'm all in on our Browns. This is for us in Cleveland, the spiritual football gods. We've joked about this through the course of the last half dozen weeks about how typically things haven't gone our way in years past with some games. The football gods have been smiling a little bit on us this year, whether it's the Indianapolis W, the Frisco W. So I don't want to bank on spiritual gods. I want to bank on that we're just bigger, tougher, physical, and out-scheme them and outplay them. But also a little karmatic spiritual help absolutely doesn't hurt at this time of the year.
That's right. Thanks, Bernie.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you next week. Good luck with your son there.
Thanks, guys. You matter.
There you go.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Bernie. Injury updates.
Yeah, Mike had just told me about this.
Yeah, Bo, if you want to get but all the Texans guys a majority of them are back at practice.
Yeah,
today,
that's right.
Bo,
Noah Brown practiced for the first time in a few weeks. Both of their starting defensive ends, Grenard and
Will Anderson
are back. Their rotational defensive end, veteran Jerry Hughes, he is not practicing still. I haven't seen the defensive tackles. Have you seen that or the fullback?
I have not seen a report on Beck yet. They're just starting practice now, so the reports are trickling out. If I see anything else, I'll continue to update you guys. But Noah Brown, their second leading receiver. Tank Dell was number 2, but he's obviously out for the season. Noah Brown's their second leading receiver.
Right.
And Jonathan Greenard and Will Anderson. Greenard had 13 sacks this year.
Those were the big ones.
And Will Anderson, who didn't play in the first matchup at all, is
and
the
Robert
second
Woods
favorite.
and Robert Woods is back as well.
Yeah. It might just be a case where DeMeco felt it was best to just give them the extra day.
Oh, yep.
They're coming off a high-intensity game, and the Browns are not. Whenever you're coming off a high-intensity game, there's a little more bruising, there's a little more fatigue, And perhaps being a player himself, he just realized, you know what? I know what those games can take out of you. I'm going to sit them a couple extra days. I believe that at this point in the season, we've drilled into their heads what we're doing and what it's all about. The rest is more important than the repetition.
At this point, we used to always say, listen, the hay is in the barn, fellas.
That's right. We are who we are.
You ain't gonna go out here and get no better. You ain't not gonna get no worse. If you ain't got it by now, you ain't getting it. So we just focusing on Saturday. And to be truthful, I think that's the mind state of a lot of people. Because, for me, I'm just sitting here, and as we're talking about it, days go on, like I'm over here like I'm getting chills and up my spine. I'm getting, like, we talking about the game. I'm excited. I'm like, dang, man, it's only like Thursday, bro. Like, it's tough for young players in general to sit back and relax, right? You can't sleep. You ain't getting good rest. It's one of those things where you're playing and everybody's watching you, man. Everybody's watching on Saturday, bro.
No, but not surprisingly, the game is now sold out. There are still some tickets available, apparently, on the resale market. So if you're thinking about going out to Houston, I'd get on that resale market quick because apparently they're going fast.
What type of number do you think they'll do, Jay?
It's not going to be a huge number. Nationally, the Flacco story brings a lot of interest, but just the two markets, Houston and Cleveland. Houston is obviously a bigger market than Cleveland, but it's in the window it's in because executives already know what games are going to do based on the matchups and the history and the storylines. I don't really care about that.
I don't know that how much the market matters, though. Well,
it does matter.
Obviously, it does. But
it does.
But Cincinnati's not a good market, and in the last couple of years, the Bengals have done well in the playoffs.
Look, playoff games always do well.
But
they're exclusive window games, so they're always big numbers. What matters is it's the reason that they love it when the Giants and the Jets make the playoffs. Sure. If all Browns fans watch a game, now Browns are actually not a great example because although we're not a big media market, we have a good following nationally. So they're not a good example. I would use instead
Arizona.
Arizona's perfect. Phoenix is a bigger TV market than us. They have almost no national following.
Right.
Arizona fans, for the most part, Cardinals fans, are all hybrids from another area. Yeah. Arizona is comprised of people that come from the Midwest.
There's a lot of Buckeye
Florida
fans
is too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when they look at a matchup, and the reason that we got this window, they have a pretty good idea based on market size and storylines how a game is going to do nationally. The reason the Cowboys, Eagles, Giants always show up in the primetime exclusive windows is because the network executives know that's a safe bet.
Right.
When they put Philly on, when they put New England to a certain extent, but usually the New York teams and Dallas, that's easy money.
Right. But in football, you can get away with a smaller market if the storyline is great. And that's why the last 2 years, the Bengal-Chief games have been some of the highest-rated playoff games because that's a good rivalry right now.
I want to see what the Peacock numbers looking like.
Unlike in baseball.
That's not going to be a good story at all.
By the way, if you're getting Peacock, two things to watch right now real quick. Dr. Death, 2 seasons is fantastic. And today they just released the prequel. Did anybody see the movies Ted?
Yes.
I did, yeah.
There's a prequel.
I didn't know that.
That's on Peacock. Just got released today.
Yeah, that's a totally different story. And they don't. It might be a situation where we don't even see numbers.
They won't put it out.
Because they're counted differently. It's like Amazon Prime. They can tell you internally exactly, just like our show. They can tell you exactly how many people are streaming it at any second. But the Nielsen numbers are made public because they're publicly available. The NFL, if it's not a great storyline, won't show the number.
Guys, we got some super chats we got to get to here to wrap up the show. We got decent bit today, so let me start with this first one from Taylor Summers, who says, y'all talked about the Cavs and the shooters they have, but I was disappointed you didn't mention Sam Merrill. I think the Cavs have found something in him.
John mentioned Sam Merrill.
Yeah, he talked about it.
John Fanta did. Yeah, this was before John came on, so I'm not quite sure.
And by the way, McNuggets, when we was doing the Summer League tour, remember I was talking about Sam Merrill? Remember I was talking about them young boys?
There are certain players, if you can shoot, you got to roll. If you can shoot, you got to roll. And Sam Merrill, pure shooting, one of the better pure shooters in the entire NBA. They'll find ways to get him involved. And he's played so well. He scored double-digit points in his last 4 games. He's averaging 14 points over that stretch. Even when Garland and Mobley and the rest of the guys come back, he's going to have a spot in the rotation if he continues to shoot threes with that volume at 43%.
Sure.
Next up, Michael McGee said, G. Bush, definition of pimping today. Chad Lieb says, the Browns allowed 19 touchdowns, 5 field goals, and 2 safeties, 152 points off turnovers, 46 points directly on offense and special teams, 51 points off drives of 20 yards or less, 57 is the longest drive a team has scored off of a Browns turnover this season.
Mike, we got injury updates. Let me interrupt you for a second.
Shoot.
Officially out for the game, Cedric Tillman, Dustin Hopkins, and Grant Delpit. He will not be activated. He is officially out for the game. Pierre Strong, Juan Thornhill, Denzel Ward, and Mike Ford are all questionable.
Ooh, the Ward thing scares me.
Ward just popped in with a knee.
How did Denzel Ward get hurt?
Yeah, no, that scares me. It must happen in practice.
Well, you said knee?
Yeah.
That's what it said. That's what Zach Jackson wrote. Now, he did practice today.
No,
so I'm assuming all those questionable guys are going to play since they all practiced. But
all of the outs we expected to be out.
Well,
Tillman, I expected
we
Tillman.
didn't know.
Delpit we didn't know, but I thought Delpit all along, from what I was told, is an extreme long shot for this week and probably unlikely for next week as well. Maybe a long-term play if they keep winning and make it to the conference championship game. Yeah. But to me, the big concern there would be Denzel Ward because CJ Stroud's Achilles has been man coverage, and he's our best man cover guy. That would be, we cannot afford to be without Denzel Ward.
We're going to talk about Nico Collins tomorrow in that matchup.
Yep.
But definitely something to keep an eye on. EBGB says, the drip is too hard, G. Real respect, real. Kevin Robinson said, 2007 Braylon Edwards and Kellen Winslow equals this year's Amari and David Njoku. Okay. Charles T says, G. Bush here looking like the urban Smokey the Bear. Matthew Culpa wants to know, could you see the Browns using the trap game more in the run game against Houston? G, Bull, Jay, thoughts on the trap game?
They pull a lot. We call it GT. They usually pull the guard and tackles and do some things like that. You'll see the guards moving a lot.
You always do with this team.
Yeah.
Got 2 more and then 1 to finish off with. 2 from Charles T. Said G. Bush is doing his best impression of the anime character Alucard from Hellsing. G, I don't know if you know who that is.
No.
Okay. Charles T. also says G. Bush, the Swisher sweet man. And R-Mac Dog, this is a question. We're going to end with this. Guys, let me know if you agree. In my memory, Joe Flacco, Amari Cooper is as dynamic as Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and Troy Aikman and Michael Irving. They're locked in. Do you guys agree?
Good gracious.
I mean, let's not get nuts.
I mean, I drink the Kool-Aid.
Let them do something in the playoffs
Montana and Rice?
Yeah, come on.
It's the most prolific combination in the world.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes on that.
We got another. We actually have a note on the Guardians, believe it or not.
Wow.
They haven't added somebody.
Shane Bieber.
Stop hyping me up.
Today is the last day to settle with players who are arbitration eligible. The Guardians and Shane Bieber have agreed to a contract for this year, his last year of arbitration. He will make $13.125 million.
If he's here.
It's a very tradable
wherever
contract.
he is, he'll make
Don't be saying that Guardians like with inflection.
Like they
voice,
added somebody.
Like you had somebody. I
got a question for you on this Browns game. It hasn't come up yet. We're trying to get in the mindset of this defense. Is this defense sort of in knuck if you buck mode?
They I'm trying to process that.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
Did somebody tell you to say that?
Do you remember the guy that said to ask you about Goku?
Yeah.
he sent me another message. Since that went so well, ask G if this defense is in knuck if you buck mode. I'm like, what the hell is that?
I know what that means, but I don't know how to answer that question.
Scrappy and Crime Mob. Shout out to Diamond,
what show is that from?
That show, they're on Love and Hip Hop, but
it's a song by Crime Mob.
All right, I do. It was the reference was totally lost on me.
That's not shocking.
I was like, dang, Jay. I was like,
says the white guy behind the glass.
I know who it was by.
You're far younger than I am. You better.
I will.
See, Mike, as life happens and you have other things of importance. I was talking about this with someone yesterday who just turned 40.
Jay, hold on. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but this from Jake Trotter literally 2 seconds ago. Stefanski said Ward injured his knee in practice today, unsure if he'll be ready for Saturday.
Yeah, that would be a big storyline. So
I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's a legit issue.
That is terrifying. Because, we talk about the guys you can't lose. And I think at the top of that list now is Flacco, and then number 2 would be Myles Garrett, and for me, number 3
Flacco's the only one that ends the season.
Yeah, but these concerning injuries. Like this is one that
this is the third, one of the biggest injuries.
Wow, it happened in practice.
G. Bush, what could he have been doing in practice to hurt his? I guess anything could happen. That's a dumb question.
Backpedaling.
Yeah, that's a dumb question. Sorry,
I mean,
retracted from the record. That was
cutting.
stupid.
Like these guys cut and pivot 300 times a game.
Listen, look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was doing nothing special when he injured his leg in practice.
And by the way,
God,
the best player in the field is Myles Garrett. So Myles Garrett be the best player on the field. Still hurts though.
See you in overtime.